Who's under the most pressure for Week 5? Big Cat, you've got the trivia question to determine the first pick. Lay it on me.
I do. There are 3 quarterbacks, Michael, who haven't thrown an interception this year, including Russell Wilson. Who has the record for the most games played to start a year before throwing an interception?
Aaron Rodgers.
I knew you were going to say that. You're so dumb. Bernie Kosar, 1991.
What in the world? Bernie Kosar?
That's an impossible trivia question, because I thought the same thing as you. That's an impossible trivia question.
Yeah. Well, thanks for looking out for me, because when they give me a really hard question, I say it's too hard, make it easier. So that's what you should have done. You should have said it's too hard, make it easier.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead. You get the first pick.
He gave me an easy question first. I said, make it harder. All right, my first pick, because I'm going to dominate this draft, and I'm happy I got the first pick. The most pressure, the Winless group. The Winless quad, the quads of Winless coaches who are new coaches, Zach Taylor, Vic Fangio, Cliff Kingsbury, and Brian Flores. Now, Cliff Kingsbury and Zach Taylor are obviously playing each other, but the pressure now mounts when you are a new coach. And, of course, there you get a little leeway, but if we get to week 6 and you haven't won a football game, the pressure's now on these guys. They have to perform. They have to have their teams get in the win column just to relieve that pressure a little bit. So I'm saying the winless rookie head coaches.
Now, see, ordinarily I would let this slide, but since you came out vowing to dominate the draft, I need to ask you, who's Brian Flores playing this weekend?
Oh, Mike, you fell right into my trap. You are so stupid. That was so easy. Brian Flores is not playing anyone. The Dolphins have a bye week, but that means the pressure is more on him than ever, because if Vic Fangio wins, if Zach Taylor wins, then you have 3 of those coaches. Cliff Kingsbury has a tie. Vic Fangio would have a win. Zach Taylor would have a win. Brian Flores would be the lone member of the winless, tieless rookie head coaches. So he has the most pressure because he's the only one who cannot get a win this week, which actually he couldn't get a win if the Dolphins were playing. But he cannot get a win this week with a bye week. So he's got to sit there and he's got to root for the Chargers and he's got to root for a tie in the Cardinals and the Bengals game.
Okay. All right.
That's a good pick. You have to agree. You get leeway as a rookie head coach to a point. If you get to week 5, week 6, week 7 without a win, there's a lot of questions that start to get asked.
But are any of these guys, I mean, let's be real here. Do you envision any of those 4 guys potentially being one and done?
It doesn't matter if they're one and done or not. And I would say actually that, yeah, I could see a world where John Elway, irrationally says we're getting rid of Vic Fangio, or even a world where Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, yes, it could happen, but Mike, it's not about the one and done. It's about the next season. And when you start the next season, if you win 2 games and the next season starts and you're slow to start then you get are they going to move on from him in the middle of the season? Are they going to move on from him after the second year? It's you know how this is. You need to start building equity early, because as soon as there's doubts in that building, whether it be from the locker room or all the way up top, as soon as those doubts, those seeds are planted, you're in trouble.
All right. I'll accept that one. Now, I have been picking on Kirk Cousins a lot in recent days for good reason. I'm not going to put him on this list today, but I am going to go 1 level higher, actually 2 levels higher if we consider Kevin Stefanski as his immediate supervisor. I'm going to Mike Zimmer, the coach of the Vikings, because I think Zimmer has so little patience for the kinds of things he should be paying attention to with his football team that he's allowed problems to fester without nipping them in the bud. The Adam Thielen comments from after the game on Sunday. Bill Belichick would have been all over any player who said the things Thielen said, and it would have been Thielen apologizing to Cousins, not Cousins apologizing to Thielen. And then you had the Cousins apology to Thielen. And then you had Stephon Diggs, the no-call, no-show on Wednesday, where they listed him as not practicing because it wasn't injury-related. No, it's not injury-related. He stayed home and didn't show up for work. And then when he came Thursday, they let him talk to the media, and he made it even worse. Look, they've got festering problems in Minnesota, and Mike Zimmer, as best I can tell, is the only person in position to clunk heads together and get this stuff right. And now the pressure is on him to do it because he failed to do it before we all knew about it.
I agree with you here, Mike. And as we're sitting here right now, October 4th, the Vikings are the worst team in the NFC North, wouldn't you say? I mean, they are.
Well, they're in fourth place. And
they're
yes,
in fourth
they
place.
are.
And they're the least I have the least confidence in them turning it around because the Lions have looked good, the Packers have Aaron Rodgers, and the Bears at least have a otherworldly defense that they can always rely on. What do the Vikings do better than anyone else? Is run the football, but they can't run the football half the time. So, you're right, Mike. This is a big game for Mike Zimmer, especially as heavy favorites on the road. Okay, my second pick is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I've had a long and storied history with the Atlanta Falcons. I actually have bet my pinky. I will cut off my pinky if they win the Super Bowl this year. I am done with the Atlanta Falcons, but they're under a lot of pressure because they have not shown up at all this season. They are so bad when it comes to getting in the red zone and putting points on the board. They are so poorly coached, and Dan Quinn is firmly on the hot seat. I think this is the guy who you're looking for. There's always one or two guys who gets fired mid-season or towards the end of the season before it all ends up, and the team tries to get a jump on their new hire. I think Dan Quinn is the guy you got to circle if this continues to go poorly and the Falcons end up 1-5, 1-6.
I thought we don't talk about another man's job.
We don't, but I'm just saying, if.
I agree with you on that one. All right, let me move on. And this is something that I've been saying throughout the week, Big Cat, but since you don't listen to the show, you're not aware of this. The Steelers have not yet faced Lamar Jackson as a starting quarterback. Lamar Jackson is going to be under tremendous physical pressure on Sunday because I think the Steelers are going to dust off the RG3 game plan from 2012 when Robert Griffin III was taking the NFL by storm. Ryan Clark, former Steelers safety, has since explained what their plan was that day: to beat the hell out of RG3 every chance they could get. There was a play when he lined up wide as a receiver. They destroyed him. They hit him every opportunity they could get to break his will, to break his spirit, and they're going to do that to Lamar Jackson. That's been the big concern that we've had about Jackson, especially when he runs the ball. He's going to take too many hits, and it's going to affect him at some point, and the Steelers are going to test that out. They're going to come at him old school style. They're going to hit him relentlessly. Will he hold up to it? He's under pressure.
I do listen to the show, and I'll tell you why I listen to the show, because I heard you say this exact take, and you said it's going to be like the Steel Curtain, which I don't know why your brain is stuck in 40 years ago, but it is. Let me move on, okay? Let me pull a Mike Florio. Let me move on. My third, under pressure, the NFL schedule makers. 10 games at 1 o'clock, 2 games at 4 o'clock. We need to make enough noise that this never happens again. This should never, ever, ever happen. We should have an even amount of games. The Sunday feels like it's completely lopsided. We're going to get to the 4 o'clock after an unbelievable witching hour with 10 games at 1 o'clock, and we're going to be stuck with, the Chargers and the Broncos and the Packers and the Cowboys, and there will be times when both games will be, in commercial, and we'll be sitting there not watching any football. Fix it. Fix it, NFL schedule makers. I don't ask a lot. I'm asking for this. Don't do this anymore. I think there's a couple other times in the season where it's scheduled for this. Change it now because people are going to start making noise. The NFL schedule makers are under pressure this weekend.
See, I don't have a problem with it. Well, first of all, what pressure are they under? The schedule's already set. The pressure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to complain. That's the pressure.
All right. But if there's only 2 games and one of them is like the game of the afternoon, then I'd rather not be distracted by other games. I'd rather go all in on Cowboys-Packers. I don't have a problem with it as long as one of the 2 games is expected to be a great game.
You sound like someone who doesn't gamble.
Oh, you're correct. I don't.
Yeah.
And look, I like being able to watch one game at a time. And the more games that are on at 1 o'clock, it's harder to keep up with everything. But you know what? If there's more games on at 1 o'clock, chances are you're going to have that moment where there's a great finish here, then there's a great finish there, there's a great finish here. And those are memorable. And those are great red zone. If you're a red zone person, those are great afternoons. And the more games that are crammed into that window, the greater chance that we're going to have one of those 10-minute windows where so much happens and seasons turn on a dime. And that may happen on Sunday afternoon. All right, last one for me. I can go a bunch of different ways here. Let me go with the Jets doctors because Sam Darnold is pushing hard to play this weekend. The Jets want him on the field, and somebody's got to be the grown-up in the room. And I know Darnold has said he doesn't want to die on the field, which I think is, a fairly important objective to have whenever you play football. But the doctors are going to have to be willing to say, we're not letting this guy play. And sometimes you have to stand up to the coaching staff. You have to stand up to the GM. You have to stand up to the owner. And it's a delicate relationship because if as team doctors, you all of a sudden start giving advice that defies the wishes of the organization, they're eventually going to find other doctors who will tell them what they want to hear. So this is going to be a real test. Will they let Sam Darnold play? Will they give in to the pressure that will be on them to let Sam Darnold play? We're going to find that out at some point before 1 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, Big Cat.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I love the Sam Darnold might be able to play, or his spleen might be so big that he dies. Just kind of throwing that out there, one or the other. Those feel
one or the other. There's no middle ground. No middle ground. It's one or the other. It's flip a coin.
Right.
Flip a coin, and we'll see what happens. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we will wrap up this Friday edition of PFT Live. Once you get a chance to digest that I have destroyed Big Cat in this draft with Mike Zimmer, Lamar Jackson, and the Jets doctors. He has the winless coaches, including the one who doesn't play this weekend, Atlanta Falcons, and the NFL schedule makers. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.